the prolonged tethering or confinement of dogs is an issue that the SPCA inspectors deal with daily. And while it's difficult to gather accurate numbers, it's safe to say this issue impacts the lives of thousands of dogs in the country. Tethering or chaining a dog describes the tying of a dog with a rope, line or chain to a fixed stationary point, also referred to as life chaining. Close confinement of a dog describes a situation where a dog is confined, contained to an enclosure or cage that provides insufficient space to meet their physical, health and behavioural needs. Now, the current legislative and regulatory framework restricts animal welfare inspectors' ability to intervene in many of these cases, and the SPCA has raised the issue of prolonged tethering with MPI and the National Animal Welfare Advisory Committee consistently over a number of years. SPCA advocates for new, directly enforceable regulations via an amendment to the Animal Welfare Care and Procedures Regulations 2018. Now, as I've been saying through the whole show, this is a topic that's very close to Sean Plunket's heart, and I know he has spoken a few times on the platform to Associate Minister of Agriculture, and he also includes Animal Welfare, Andrew Hoggard. And now it's my turn to have a run at the Minister. Andrew, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Leah.
Andrew, before we jump into this, can I just quickly read you something? This is quite recent. A Tauranga dog owner was fined $2,000 after her Labrador Pit Bull cross was left to rot in its backyard kennel. Evidence showed Casper had been tied up to his kennel in the backyard for 5 years and seemed that he had not been walked at all in that time. An autopsy showed Casper had a tumour from his penile shaft to his leg, which was the size of an adult forearm. He had a tumour on his right inner thigh and a lesion on his left neck through to his armpit. The autopsy also showed Casper was severely malnourished. He was so hungry he was eating the plastic wrappers of his dog roll and the metal pins. He had 2 cancerous tumours and a rotting and suppurating sore. He was untreatable and he was euthanized. I've got to tell you, when I read that, I cried.
Yeah, that's pretty disgusting.
Andrew, you know, this is, and he won't be alone. Thousands of dogs are tied up 24/7. And I know you spoke with Sean, and I appreciate that you did, and I appreciate you coming on to be asked about it again. So last time I know you spoke with Sean, you said you were meeting with the SPCA and you had some other things to do. Where are we along from there?
Yeah, so had that meeting a couple, three weeks back. Been considering, but further back than that. They were going to provide me with some further follow-up information, which they did, I think about 3 or 4 weeks back. Been considering that, and the intention is there's a couple of little changes I want to make. And so then once that's done, I'll be putting regulations to Cabinet to consider.
Fantastic. What is your, and I heard you say to Sean, what were the little problems that you wanted to iron out? Was there something about neighbours? Was it what
well, it's enforceability, I guess. I can't go into the detail around what these proposed regulations are because it's all going to be before Cabinet.
Yeah.
But it was basically around the enforceability and proving some things in there, because it could end up in a he said, she said sort of thing. How do you prove that some of this has been happening? I mean, I totally agree with what's in there, or the regulations, in terms of you shouldn't, this is like, we shouldn't be treating dogs like what we're trying to put these regulations in to prevent. I'll never treat my dog like that at all. But I've got to come up with sound, practical regulations that are implementable, that don't create problems and unintended consequences. And there was certainly a concern I had around where you've got neighbours at war and they may want to, sort of use the RSPCA as a method of creating issues for their neighbours and that sort of thing. So, and that was part of the discussion I had with the RSPCA around that side of it, and they reaffirmed that, they have situations like that and their processes for how they manage that. So, I guess upshot is hopefully the team can write in the couple of tweaks I want to make, and then we can get it in quick order, and then I can get it to Cabinet Minister colleagues for consideration.
That's great news to hear, Andrew, because I know that neighbours would play those games and the SPCA would have seen this before, but I could say my dog was only tied up for 4 hours. When I came home, I took them off the chain. So this is, you've got to have, when you change the law, obviously you want it to be, there's no loopholes in it, right? So you want the SPCA to have,
to have
challenge
the
around
full
power.
That says, if we're saying, you can only chain for X amount of time, or tether a dog for X amount of time, how is anyone going to prove that? That's a difficult thing, and it's going to be a sort of a value judgment. And I guess also there can be extenuating circumstances at times. So, for example, someone drove their car through your front fence and suddenly, you previously had a nice contained section where the dog could run free. Suddenly, until you get the fence fixed, you've got to have a dog on the tether so it doesn't run off and get hit on the road or things like that. So, there just needed to be a couple of little changes that make me a hell of a lot more comfortable, and hopefully would also give comfort to Cabinet colleagues when they consider it.
I suppose, though, and you've given a scenario that is valid, but when you saw the condition that this dog, Paul Casper, was in, you would know that this wasn't a dog that had just been tied up a couple of days in a row. So, the SPCA could make that call.